If you're watching this series as a neutral, you'd be delighted. Going down to the final game, we weren't even sure if this one would happen. It was revived, they made it happen, and in 24 hours' time, there'll be another game between these two sides with the series level at 1-1. An inexperienced Sri Lanka side against a new-look India side. So much to play for in this game, and at the end, Sri Lanka had lost their way. Then suddenly they found themselves a GPS and they found their way back onto the main road and got home just about. Let's quickly give you the numbers. Scoreboard doesn't always tell the story. In this case, it definitely doesn't, of the ups and downs. 132 for 5. Our panel felt maybe 20 runs short, but at the end, India did well to defend it till the point that they did. 133 for 6 in 19.4 was not the usual suspects, but yes, the experience of Dhananjaya De Silva, who stuck in till the very end. We've got the highly experienced panel, as always, Zaheer Khan and Harsha Bhogle. We've seen close finishes. We all love close finishes, but was this a tale of missed opportunities here and there for both sides until one decided that, okay, I'll take it?
Could have been. I thought it was a very spirited defense of an under par total. 132 was something to bowl at, but it was never going to be a comfort total. So I thought 132, it was very spirited defense, came down to 2 overs, really. 112 of Bhuvi, 115 of Kuldeep Yadav. But I just thought Sri Lanka's greater batting depth counted because India got 4 of their last over. They just didn't have the batting after number 5, whereas Sri Lanka could call a 6-hitter at number 8. And I think that 6, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about it. I don't know if the wet ball slipped out of Bhuvi's hand, whatever. The end result was a 6. But that extra batting depth to call upon a number 6 and a number 8 to get the game. I mean, look at that scorecard. Who came in at number 6 was Hasaranga, who made 15 of 11. And at number 8 was 12 of 6. There's the game.
But I'd still like to add one more bit to it. And I know we've been going on about it from game 1. At least we, even members of the opposition or neutrals or journalists, have seen something in Karunaratne. Zaheer, you've said it yourself. Now, in this case, they've won the match. He's hit some key runs. What if he hadn't even come out to bat and Sri Lanka fell short by 10?
That's the right question. I think, what they would have felt is are they rating him to the level which maybe what we are seeing in him? So that is something which they need to ask themselves, the Sri Lankan team management, whether you're actually identifying that as a potential, or you're thinking that, maybe the other batters who are going ahead of him, they rate them highly, so that is something is going to be completely team management's fault. But, from whatever we see on screen and, however he's been approaching the innings, certainly a guy looks like, if you put more responsibility on him, he's got good cricketing brain on his shoulders, so he's someone who can really turn into a good asset for Sri Lankan team going forward for sure.
Sometimes,
something you can't.
Sorry, Gautam. Sometimes you get people probably project themselves as saying he's only good with certain number of deliveries left. So maybe he doesn't want to play longer innings. But we saw in the ODIs that he actually controlled the end well. I mean, that wicket of Mendes was Ramesh Mendes, right? That wicket was actually a blessing in disguise, because had he played 3-4 balls more and got maybe 1 or 2 singles more, that could have been the game there. So, I mean, sometimes when you look at it with neutral eyes, you see life a little differently than when you see when you're more involved.
If you have to pick a turning point, I mean, I know it, as Harsha said, it could have just been the ball that slipped out, because remember, it had rained for a couple of minutes. We almost thought we were going to go off. So there was some dampness in the air. But would you just put it down to that one big hit from Karunaratne, the over from Kuldeep, or an entire over from Bhuvi?
Well, I think, when you look at that bowling card, if every bowler, yes, you can see Sakaria was little on the expensive side. But apart from that, I think that bowling card is looking very good. And if you have to just look at the bowling in isolation, I think you'll see that Indian bowlers have done a fantastic job in this game. There is no doubt about that. They've made the game out of it. And you can always look at it and say, okay, was that the 6 which Karunaratne hit, or the Kuldeep's expensive over, all those kind of things. That's what happens in these slow totals and small totals. So for me, the turning point is there's not this. The game was done and dusted when Indian team batted. They were at 15 over mark 94 or 96 runs with just 2 wickets down. So so when you're having that cautious approach, you're looking at, okay, set the platform for the back end, and then you go on to get that 150, because you're not looking at a big total today. You're looking at a smallish total, but I think they fell short of that 20-25 runs, and that was what was needed. After that, you wanted the bowling unit to really bail you out of the situation, and they did fantastic job up to a point, having taken those many wickets. So if you compare the game at 15 over mark for both the teams, Sri Lanka had lost 6 wickets at that stage.
Yeah, five, 94 for 5, 94 for 2.
So you will say that, okay, it's job well done for the Indian bowlers. So I will not get into criticizing the bowlers here. I think the turning point, if you ask me, of the match was done at that stage. Bowlers would have done a fantastic job of bailing out the batters if they had gone to win this game.
Yeah. When Zaheer said, look at the bowling in isolation, I suddenly thought, yeah, there are a few Indian cricketers who are doing exactly that. That was meant to be a terrible joke, but it fell completely flat. But there was one point.
You'd never make a great stand-up, because if your joke fell flat, you would never actually tell the audience, see, my joke fell flat. You'd just gone on to the next joke. So come on, crack another one, Gautam. Under pressure now. 8 of the last over. Crack a good one, Gautam. Come on.
I'll try and find one before the end of the show. But that was my attempt at stand-up sitting down. But one of the bowlers, and Harsha, I'll come to you on this first, because I asked Zaheer about it in the comm box. Navdeep Saini. I mean, we're hoping that shoulder isn't a serious issue. But before that happened, we were expecting to see him bowl. He didn't.
I actually thought he might bowl one around the 9th, 10th over, just to see how he is going. Chamira bowled well, remember? So sometimes just hit the ball and the deck would have stood up. So I thought he'll bowl one around 9 or 10, see how he is going, and then have an option. If Sakarya is expensive, you got an option at the end. So I was expecting him to bowl around 9 or 10. I actually thought he might slip one from Nitish Rana around then as well. But the game was going pretty well for India at that time, so he didn't need to make that chance maybe. But maybe that is where, that's just a feeling I got.
Zaheer, what would your take? I mean, you mentioned it on Combox, you were surprised. You yourself said not in the first 6, but you were expecting him 7 to 10. But not in the entire innings, no Nitish Rana, going with 5 bowlers. Yes, the unit you're happy with, but not using Saini.
It was, like I said, it was that kind of a day. Till 15 over mark, things were going in your favor. Your spinners were doing a fantastic job. So as a captain, you had to make that call. That temptation was always there that, okay, the spinner will give you a wicket, and one more wicket will put you in more commanding position. So I think, that was the call. Maybe towards the end of the innings, then Sakarya, he felt was a better option with the back of the hand, slower one. That is his strength. So he felt that that is a better option. So by the time he decided on Saini in terms of using him, I think the game had gone too far for him to then make that call of using him.
There's one other factor I thought. Did the ball come on better as the game progressed? Late, say the last 5-6 overs, was the ball coming on better? Was it gripping less, for example? Because I actually expected, for all his skill, I expected a little more from Sakarya. I know he's a young man, his debut, whatever. But I got the feeling the ball was coming on a little better. I don't know if that little drizzle freshened it up a little bit in the last couple of overs.
Might have helped a little, and with the seam getting wet, that doesn't really help your cause either. Then with that wetness on the seam, the ball skids through. So maybe that worked in Sri Lanka's favor at that stage. But in these kind of totals, you're talking about 120 deliveries, 132 runs, right? So it's just difference of 2 hits, and that was the game, right? Like you just had 2 overs on either side, and maybe if you compare what we're comparing in the mid innings, where we're talking about number of boundaries being hit, it was the lowest for Indian team, and Sri Lanka today beat them in that department, and hence they walked away with the match.
Fair point. We did mention that at the halfway stage, but we didn't sort of look at it in perspective. Thank you, Zaheer, for putting that in perspective, because that was also going to be an issue. Sri Lanka needed to get boundaries, and they got them at the right time. And one man who was responsible for that, who has pretty much been virtually absent, Harsha, in this tournament or in this ODI series and T20Is, is Dhananjaya De Silva. Vastly experienced, always there and thereabouts, but it was almost as if he was waiting for this game to show his wares.
But also, every time they've pushed him up the order, he hasn't scored runs. I mean, I remember when he first burst on the scene, they actually sent him out at number 3 in a test match, thinking here's this bright young player. I thought he played well in patches when he came to India, but he showed that he had something about him. Maybe this is a role he plays really well. And I think he played his role fantastically well, 40 of 37. He ensured that wickets weren't going down, because it got to a stage where it came down to wickets. If Sri Lanka had lost a wicket around then, you don't know if Isuru Udana was going to come to bat, because he went off the field after bowling one over. Then it would have come down to Chamira, to Akila Dhananjaya. So I think he gave that solidity at the end and took the game deep. I know we often refer to India as taking the game deep, but I thought that was a top-class innings from Dhananjaya de Silva. He was a quality player. He came out at number 5 today? So 5 or 6, in fact, he might have come in at 5 or thereabouts. So I thought it was a fabulous innings, and he controlled it really well.
Yeah, I think that was the difference, because remember, Zaheer, at the start of the game, we were saying no Asalanka, and how good would he have possibly been in these circumstances. But without Asalanka, Rajapaksa missing, and of course all the players we talked about before the start of the tour, it was crucial for someone with the experience of De Silva. And he said it at the end of the game, Zaheer, that he wanted to bat till the end. He did that.
Well, that was required, I think. One guy to play that anchor role. He just hit one boundary and a 6, and that boundary also was of Sakaria, where he used the pace of the delivery. So he was smart today in his approach. He was assigned that role. He understood the situation, and just focused on rotation of the strike. And one more example of what we often speak about, that rotation of the strike, how important it is on these kind of tracks. When the track is sticky, sluggish, you need someone to play this kind of role, and the batters at the other end then take those high risk options.
So full marks there to Dhananjaya de Silva. There was an interesting moment, Harsha, early on, because we didn't give credit to Minod Bhanuka, who also played really well. It just seemed so early on in the innings, but he kind of threw his wicket away at the wrong time. He went for a shot on the offside, got dropped. Mickey Arthur came bounding down the stairs to send a message to him to calm down. Next ball, he got out.
Yeah, I mean, there's never a good time. There's never a good time to get out. But at that point, if you look down that card, the scorecards often tell a lot of things. Avishka 11 of 13, Samar Vikrama 8 of 12, and Shanaka 3 of 6. If that match would have got over there had it not been for that 36 of 31. So I thought those two innings with Bhanuka of 36 and Dhananjaya at the end controlled it. But had he got out early there, straight away you're looking to follow wicket. Instead of 55 for 3, you're probably looking at 35-40 for 3. So it was an excellent innings. But I think you've got to look at the Indian fielding today at some point. I mean, the couple of catches went down that didn't prove to be too expensive, but one that Sakaria let through for 4. There were a couple of singles that were easily obtained, which maybe should not have been. And there you are, 7-8 runs, and that's a difference again. I mean, I keep saying that's a difference there, but in a 130 game, the little things make such a big difference. But Zach is right. I mean, you can look at the Indian bowling, you can look at whatever. For Sri Lanka's bowling kept India down to 130, and that made a big difference.
Certainly did. The extras, the fielding, various aspects. But to pick on one individual to finish off this discussion, I think it's important because he probably got a game because of all the circumstances that happened. Kuldeep Yadav, we were wanting him to play well. Zaheer, you said it's the kind of surface he'd probably enjoy. But it was sort of a tale of two parts for Kuldeep today, wasn't it? He'd want to pick up on the goods and try and eliminate the negatives.
Absolutely, and look, every time we talk about Kuldeep, we talk about this. We say that at times he's going to be expensive, but he's someone who's going to pick wickets. So I'm very happy with his performance. I think today, and like I said, on the whole, the Indian bowling unit actually did a great job. To make the game out of it. You actually when after end of this game, if you ask the Sri Lankan side, they will be looking at this run chase and saying that we should have started better. They actually made a mess at the beginning. Where they took that cautious approach. They should have been more aggressive and then taken the game to the Indian team there. When you look at the Indian team, they will talk about how they could have approached their batting. So in a similar fashion, I think, when I'm looking at Kuldeep's performance today, I think he did a fantastic job. You add that review to this wicket tally, and there's one more. So I think, you can afford to have a bowler who is playing this kind of a role, who might be expensive, and here is where you have to look at your sixth bowling option. So you could have, as a captain, easily gone for your sixth bowling option and made Kuldeep look better than what he's actually done. So I think, so looking at all those things, I will say that Kuldeep has had a good day out there. I wouldn't go too much into scrutinizing or criticizing or over analyzing when it comes to his performance.
Fair enough. No, there wasn't meant to be any criticism, but I guess, Harsha, maybe a slice of luck, the misfeeling that didn't go. Had he managed to persuade Shikhar Dhawan to take that review, which he was confident about, maybe Samson wasn't.
In spite of all that, he bowled well. Look, he had two catches put down. One that Samson of little edge, of the two edge. It's a very difficult catch to take. Inside edges are tough. I think the two edge catch would have been even more difficult. But Bhuvi should have caught it. See, with the flight that with his action, someone's going to take a chance against him at some point, and the chance came off. He was 3 overs 15. One miss hit, he could have finished 3 for 20, 22. So, I was happy. I thought Sakaria, Rahul, Chahar would be the key bowlers. Very happy with the way Kuldeep bowled, and he'll feel better. He's seen such good days, and suddenly to come down that badly is. I'm happy for him. You see his body language when he took the wicket. He was like a kid in a mithai shop,
Well, there you go. That's as far as the second T20 international is concerned, set up beautifully for the final game of this mini tour of Sri Lanka. 1-1 in the T20I series. Can the young Sri Lankan team pull out something for them to smile about? Or can this new look Indian side do the unthinkable, as many would almost imagine, with so many new names being thrown in there? That is what we're looking ahead to. The third T20 international. They'll have learned a lot from game number 2. It's coming in 24 hours time, so not too much time to think, not too much time to analyze. But straight up, Harsha, do you see any changes? Not that they have too many options, other than Navdeep Saini, which looks like it's probably going to be a forced change.
I don't know what kind of track that is. If it's going to be this kind of track, you might actually want to play Sai Kishore, the Tamil Nadu left-arm spinner, because a finger spinner would get quite a bit from surfaces like these. So they might be tempted to play him. Or if you have to pick someone outside, if Saini is not going to be available, I was very impressed with Arshdeep Singh when he was playing for Kings. So I think those could be the two possibilities.
Yeah, they have options. I mean, they were looking at
loads of options with the bowling. Yeah.
We saw Ishan Porel sitting not too far from Rahul Dravid towards the end of the match.
Does that help? That if a bowler comes and sits next to the coach, a player comes and sits next to the coach.
Well, I think right now the approach will be very simple. Who among those players is capable of playing a good hand with the bat. That is something which was evident from today's game. I think that approach which we've seen today, if you have the selection will be based on who can provide more with the bat than.
In fact, as you speak, I'm trying to look at that as well. Trying to see who's giving more with the bat.
But otherwise, obviously, I mean, we know for circumstances out of their control, selection issues are not really going to be much to talk about except for injuries. But Sanju Samson is someone who'll tell himself that I'm assured of one more game, one more chance, one more opportunity. Can I make it a big one? To be fair, it wasn't the kind of track where you could go and use as a part of your resume.
Doesn't matter. You got to play on all tracks anyway, so it doesn't matter what the track was. It was the same track for everybody. So I got the feeling that he was backing himself to hit a couple of big ones, and so was backing himself to play till the end. So maybe just misjudged one of those balls. He was going to be out on that ball anyway. If it hadn't rolled on to the stumps, the wicketkeeper was sitting there waiting for the ball. He was 4 meters outside. So I thought he backed himself to stay till the end and hit the big ones. But I still think the fact that they didn't have batting after 5 played on their approach. I think he would have been a little freer if he'd have realized that there was somebody at 6 and 7.
I think that was going to be my next question, Zaheer. Really, we talked about Sri Lanka's cautious approach for different reasons because of the total in front of them. India's cautious approach. Is it something that Rahul Dravid should be telling the boys, look, I know there's only 5 batsmen, but I'm going to identify 2 of you. You have the license.
There's not even slightest of doubt in my mind right now when I'm saying this. The talk is going to be around this. There's no doubt about that, and you will see the difference also in the next game. That's something which I'm sure they'll do their homework tomorrow. Whenever they're having the meeting, maybe at the ground tomorrow, they will just have like a quick chat around what they can do. Maybe a floater will be used for sure. They will try and find a solution to what happened today. That analysis is important, and Rahul is more than capable of doing that. I'm sure as the bowling was going on, he must be thinking about it. Okay, what I could have done differently, or what we could have done differently as a batting unit. And with Sanju Samson's approach as well, you could see that there was a role assigned to him, and then he was trying to curb his natural instincts. That was the kind of feeling I got. Maybe 2 left-handers will not bat together in the next match for sure. So that is something which from today's game that they learn, because that give opportunity to the opposition to use their part-timers or not the primary bowlers, especially when they had their main bowler Isru Udana who's injured. They still managed to put up a good stack of overs, and I think that could just happen because of that little passage of play which allowed them to get on top with not with the secondary bowlers rather than the main bowlers.
Let's move. I'm just going to interrupt you there only because I know we can't hear you at the moment. You're not coming through, so we'll come back to you on that. We've finished our little chat on Team India. We'll move to Sri Lanka, Zaheer. How much of a difference will that second or the third ODI make to this team going into play the third T20I here? Because remember, when they lost that second game, we were saying they saw the finish line and they didn't quite have the belief they can beat this Indian team. Now that's changed.
Well, after that first T20 and today's till about 15 over mark, you have to say that maybe they got lucky. that you are not playing the team which they're supposed to play. But nonetheless, I think they've been upbeat. You can see when Hasranga also, when they were close to winning, or those close matches when that adrenaline is pumping, and you have this kind of a match where you thought that you're actually not going to win but end up winning. So that really changes things, and winning is a good tonic for your graph to go upwards. So I think this confidence boost is definitely going to help them in tomorrow's game as well. There is no doubt about that. But I would still go in India's favor, because I think there was a lot of positives from today's game, especially with bowling. To have a below par total and then to make the match out of it, they can take that momentum forward for sure, and fine tune that batting approach. So on the whole, I feel that tomorrow it's going to be a good day for Indian team.
Well, good day, but certainly it promises to be a good contest. That's for sure, Harsha. We were just trying to figure out whether the victory in that third ODI, where they didn't quite have the belief in the second, will make a difference to this decider in the T20I series. We're just going to have a look at the Sri Lanka squad as you give us that reply.
We talk so often about the engine room. More and more we are realizing, and we realized it for 3-4 years, the importance of 5, 6, 7, 8. Forget 8, the importance of 5, 6, 7. And a lot of very good teams are constructed around match winners at 5, 6, 7. Sometimes 10 ball innings, 15 ball innings, but 5, 6, 7 are impact players. Now you look today, Sri Lanka had an impact player at 8, then an impact player at 6, and they had a proper batsman at 5. I think whatever India do, India don't have 6, 7, 8 tomorrow. So whatever they do, that approach they have to figure out the fact that they've got 5 batsmen who've got to do it. So you're going to enter the match with the one hand behind your back.
Yeah, so the
Sri Lanka have those options too. Yeah.
They do. So let's just finish off one more time and look at that squad, because as Harsha was mentioning, you could just see those stack of all-rounders there. Dasun Shanaka, Dhananjaya De Silva, Wanindu Hasaranga, Isurudana couldn't quite contribute today. But the other name, of course, is Karunaratne, who is stacked up with the bowlers. But I think maybe we should also start pushing him into that all-rounder category. Zaheer, if we start doing that, maybe Sri Lanka will start doing that, and maybe Shanaka will start bowling more.
Well, I think when you look at 5, 6, 7, yes, they're looking at, they have those good options there. But what is missing with Sri Lanka is that how they're creating the platform. Like today they got lucky with the below par total, and that is something is not going to happen often. And in that game as well, there was a situation where they were really under pressure. They just got out of that and managed to win the game of cricket. And that's not going to happen consistently, So in spite of them having a decent day out there today and winning the match, I think their problems are far from over. It's something which I strongly feel that you'll see in the next game as well. But on the whole, I think they'll be happy with the options they have, which they can play around with. Looking at the World Cup also in mind. They tried changing and shuffling the batting order as well. So that is also something which you will see in the next game as well. I really feel that Karunaratne needs to come little up the order, maybe have like an overmark at his arrival to the crease. That should solve Sri Lanka's problem to a certain degree.
Well, we'll see what does happen in that final game. We're not too far away from it. But just to conclude this discussion, with so many new names, I'm not going to depart from tradition, Harsha. One name, we don't even need an explanation, just a name to look out for final T20I, Harsha.
I will go Sanju Samson. Because you're looking at 5 bats. He's had a game. He would have been looking to these 3 games to make an impact. He likes pace on the ball. New generation of Indian batsmen from time when we were growing up, and pace off the wicket was something batsmen didn't always want. Some of them, of course, did. Whereas this generation likes pace off the wicket, likes the bounce, likes to play their shots. So I'd like to see how he goes about. And he's been around now long enough at one level just below international to be able to be good enough to try and make an impact here and play a match-winning innings. So, I mean, if I'm Sanju Samson, I'm thinking that what an opportunity there. That I've got a chance. I've got a great batting number. I can produce a match-winning innings from here on. So I'm thinking that for me he's the person.
All right, just a name is all we can get from you, Zaheer.
Devdutt Padikkal, I think he looked good today. He looked comfortable there out at the crease. I think tomorrow that all that first match is out of the way. He's got the score today. Could have gone to get on to a big one. I think from India's point of view, if they approach, in fact, when I was doing the prediction today, I was actually highballing it, because when you have batters short, you tend to get better result, because your 5 batters think that okay, you have to get in and want to make really big one and make it count, and in the process you end up actually going beyond your expectations. So it might happen in tomorrow's game. As long as that freedom is there, I think rather than curbing your instinct, you have to just let it flow out there, and that should be the message, and you'll see the result tomorrow.
Yeah, well, we all tried to highball it. In fact, low balling worked today. 36, the prediction that one of us 3 made in the second innings came good. But the two names that mentioned as we finish off this, Sanju Samson, Devdutt Padikkal, will that Indian team meeting send out a message to them and to the other batters? Go for it and get those extra
How to
30
produce a better track, though? I mean, that was a terrible track. We didn't talk about that. You don't want to play international T20 on that track. I think they needed a Kyron Pollard press conference on that track to say what he thought of it. It was a terrible track, though. So I hope they've got a better pitch for the game. Maybe an adjacent one that does it a bit more.
Yeah, I was trying to say Zaheer smiled when you mentioned Kyron Pollard. In fact, I was going to slip him in earlier, a little while ago, to sort of give the analogy of someone who batted lower down the order, was looked at Zaheer as someone who used to maybe just 10 balls, just 15 balls, don't give him any more. And the more he's matured, the more he started becoming a leader. He likes to bat at 4. He likes to spend time in the innings. He likes to be the boss man. But enough about Pollard. Zaheer's heard enough about him in that dressing room to last a lifetime. Let us move to Joy Bhattacharya and the answer to the question we've eagerly been waiting for. Very simple. In terms of phrasing, this cricketer made his Ranji Trophy debut along with a current Rajasthan Royals player. He captained the team on his ODI debut. I hadn't a clue on this one, even though it was simple phrasing. Harsha, any thoughts?
It's midnight.
Answer straight away. That's a good answer. That's a very good answer. I was trying to see if we could wrap it up before midnight, but yeah, Saurabh Netravalkar in
Bombay University
from Joy. That was mean of Joy to slip that in. Yeah, when he talked about captain, we're talking about captaining the USA. The lovely story about Saurabh Netravalkar. If it wasn't midnight, I would have told you the story, but we'll keep it for the next game.
I'll tell you what, he is on cloud 9, thinking somewhere in a quiz competition, someone's got him as an answer. He just made his day. Joy Bhattacharya just made his day, Saying, oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, trust me, he's one of those computer science geeks, to say the least. Masters, that too. A master's degree in that, and an accidental captain of the United States, but that's for another day. Who won this one and picked the little googly from Joy Bhattacharya? Who else? It had to be. Tanmoy is our chief googly picker.
Oh, but
yeah, we've got some.
Yeah, but Tanmoy is the guy who's stolen Joy's database, right? He just slipped in somewhere and nicked his database away. Or maybe he gives Joy the questions. He's asking Joy, "Are you too busy? Can I give you a question today?"
Yeah, no, that was only one person, Crick Rohit. That's there. Joy has had a whole new database made thanks to him. Well, we couldn't succeed in keeping it inside midnight, so we've had to go just beyond 12. So since we have gone there, I'll take another 30 seconds to remind all of you highlights. Cricbuzz Plus, that's the place to go. And you've got a huge menu of options to choose from. And trust me, you won't regret it. Any cricket lover's dream. Today's highlights, even though it may have been the wrong side of India, still plenty of individual highlights to look forward to. Just enough time to thank Zaheer Khan, Harsha Bhogle. Not too long till we are back later today for the resumption of this T20 International Series.
I knew that was coming. JB, I knew that.
That unfortunately was not my stand-up line for the day, but I'll have to work on one for tomorrow.
Today. The match is today.
Today.
I just shot myself in the foot. Yep. See you later today. 1-1, all to play for. Good night from Cricbuzz Live.